For years, one question has divided Van Halen fans more than almost anything else. Which era was better, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? The debate has lasted for decades, and if there was one person fans never expected to soften his stance on the issue, it was Alex Van Halen. Throughout the years, Alex has rarely spoken positively about the Sammy Hagar era. That's why his latest interview has surprised rock fans around the world. Not only did he admit that some of Van Halen's best music came during Sammy's time with the band, he even revealed that his favorite drum sound of his entire career came from one Hagar-era album. But don't mistake that for changing history, because while Alex praised the music, he also made one thing crystal clear. In his eyes, there will only ever be one true Van Halen. So what exactly did he say, and why are longtime fans calling this one of his most revealing interviews ever? Let's dive in. A debate that never really ended. Very few bands have experienced a lineup change as dramatic as Van Halen. When David Lee Roth left in 1985, many believed the band couldn't survive. Roth wasn't simply the lead singer, he was the personality, the showman, the face of Van Halen. Replacing someone like that seemed impossible. Then Sammy Hagar arrived. Instead of trying to imitate Roth, Sammy brought an entirely different style. His vocals were more melodic, his songwriting leaned toward emotion, and suddenly Van Halen wasn't just a hard rock band anymore. They were evolving. Albums like 5150, OU 812, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and Balance produced hit after hit and introduced the band to an entirely new generation. Commercially, the Hagar era was incredibly successful, yet among fans, the debate never stopped. Was it still the same Van Halen? A surprising admission? That's what made Alex Van Halen's recent comments so unexpected. During the interview, Alex openly acknowledged something fans rarely hear him say. He admitted there was some really good music made during Sammy Hagar's years with the band. For someone often viewed as fiercely protective of Van Halen's original identity, that was a significant statement. Then came an even bigger surprise. Alex revealed that his favorite drum sound from the band's entire catalog appears on For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. For drummers, that's not a small compliment. The sound of the drums defines how powerful a rock record feels. To say your favorite drum tone came from an album recorded during the Hagar years speaks volumes about how Alex views the band's musicianship during that period. Fans immediately noticed. Many called it the most generous thing Alex has ever publicly said about the Sammy era. Then came the catch. However, Alex wasn't rewriting history. Almost immediately after praising the music, he returned to something he said many times before. In his opinion, the David Lee Roth years remain the true essence of Van Halen. He described the original lineup as the band's first model, the version that created the identity, the chemistry, the spirit. To Alex, everything that followed may have been successful, but it wasn't exactly the same. That distinction is important. He's not saying the Hagar era wasn't great, he's saying it represented a different chapter. And that's a perspective many longtime fans actually understand. The brotherhood with David Lee Roth. Perhaps the most emotional part of the interview had nothing to do with Sammy Hagar at all. Instead, it centered on David Lee Roth. Alex described their creative relationship in deeply personal terms. He talked about a connection that went beyond music, beyond business, beyond fame. He even used the phrase brilliant soup to describe the creative chemistry they shared. Then he revealed something few people knew. Following Eddie Van Halen's death in 2020, there was only one former bandmate Alex reached out to, David Lee Roth. That revelation surprised many fans. Given their complicated history, some assumed the two had grown permanently distant. Instead, Alex suggested that their bond runs far deeper than public disagreements ever could. It wasn't simply about the band, it was about family, shared memories, and creating something that changed rock music forever. Why the band changed? One of the most interesting points discussed in the interview involves Eddie Van Halen himself. For years, some fans blamed Sammy Hagar for pushing Van Halen toward a softer, more keyboard-driven sound. But Alex's comments paint a different picture. According to him, Eddie had already wanted to explore new musical directions. He wasn't interested in repeating the same formula forever. In fact, Eddie often spoke about wanting to challenge himself creatively. Songs like Dreams, Love Walks In, and Right Now reflected that evolution. Those songs couldn't have existed if the band had simply tried recreating the early Roth albums. Instead, Van Halen grew. Whether fans preferred that direction or not is a matter of personal taste. Alex suggests the evolution began with Eddie's own ambitions, not just because a new singer joined the band. Two eras, one legacy. The biggest takeaway from the discussion may be this. Why do fans insist on choosing only one era? The Roth years gave us explosive energy. Wild performances, groundbreaking guitar work. The Hagar years gave us mature songwriting, arena anthems, and some of the biggest commercial successes in the band's history. Without David Lee Roth, Van Halen probably never becomes legendary. Without Sammy Hagar, the band might never have survived one of rock's most difficult transitions. Instead of competing with each other, perhaps both eras complete the story. A miracle in rock history, very few legendary bands survive replacing an iconic frontman. Most disappear, others become tribute acts to their former selves. Van Halen did something almost impossible. They reinvented themselves, and not only survived, they continued selling millions of albums. That's incredibly rare. Regardless of which singer fans prefer, it's difficult to deny what Van Halen accomplished. Two completely different chapters. Both hugely successful, both filled with unforgettable music. What Alex's comments really mean. Some fans have interpreted Alex's remarks as an olive branch towards Sammy Hagar. Others believe he's simply becoming more reflective as he looks back on his career. Either way, the interview shows a level of perspective that wasn't always present in years past. He's still loyal to the band's origins. He still believes the Roth era defined Van Halen. But for perhaps the first time, he's publicly acknowledged that the Sammy years deserve genuine respect as well. That alone makes this interview historic. Ending. Rock history is often written in black and white. One singer versus another, one lineup versus the next. But perhaps Alex Van Halen's latest comments remind us that things are rarely that simple. Van Halen wasn't one great band. It was two remarkable bands sharing the same name. Each gave fans unforgettable moments. Each left behind timeless albums, and together, they created one of the greatest legacies rock music has ever known. Now we want to hear from you. Which era of Van Halen is your favorite? David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more classic rock stories, music history, and exclusive updates. Thanks for watching.